Have you ever noticed that the harder you try to make something happen, the further it seems to drift away? You repeat your affirmations, visualize, raise your vibration, listen to all the right teachers, and yet, somehow, the universe stays silent. Maybe it's not ignoring you. Maybe it's whispering something softer, something we miss in all our effort. Stop trying to create. Start allowing. You see, most of us were taught that manifestation is about making things happen, pushing energy into form, forcing dreams into existence. But what if reality doesn't work that way at all? What if the universe isn't waiting for you to build your life piece by piece, but simply for you to choose which version of reality you'd like to step into? Imagine walking into a vast library. Every possible version of your life is already written there. Every success, every relationship, every heartbreak, every moment of peace. You don't have to write a new story. You only have to reach out and pick the book whose vibration feels like home. That's what Vadim Zeland, the Russian quantum physicist, called reality transurfing. It's not about creation. It's about selection. When I first heard this, it felt both liberating and uncomfortable, because it meant I had to stop fighting. It meant that all my striving, all my desperate affirmations, were actually keeping me in the vibration of wanting, not having, and the universe, being the perfect mirror that it is, could only reflect that vibration back to me over and over again. Have you ever tried holding water in your hands? The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. But when your hands are open, still, and relaxed, the water stays. That's the paradox of energy. Desire that clings too hard becomes resistance. But desire that relaxes, that breathes, becomes a current. And that current knows exactly where to take you. There's a delicate shift that happens when you move from trying to manifest to learning to select. Manifestation operates through personal will, the inner intention, the ego that says, I must make this happen. Selection operates through outer intention, the willingness to let the current of life move through you, to guide you where you're already meant to go. You can feel the difference. Inner intention feels like swimming upstream, tense, exhausting, full of doubt. Outer intention feels like floating down a river that already knows its way to the sea. The moment you stop thrashing, the current begins to carry you. You might ask, but how do I know which current to follow? You already do. It's the one that feels like quiet joy, the one that doesn't demand effort. It's the subtle nudge, the coincidence that feels too perfect, the opportunity that feels almost too easy. That's the language of alignment. Life doesn't reward struggle. It responds to frequency. And frequency isn't changed by willpower. It's changed by awareness. So instead of saying, I need that job, that relationship, that success, ask yourself, what does the version of me who already has it feel like? Not what they're doing, but how they're being. Calm, grateful, peaceful, confident. The moment you start vibrating with that inner state, you've stepped into the lifeline where that version of you already exists. It's like tuning a radio. The song you want to hear is already playing. You don't create the music. You simply match the frequency. But here's the trap. Most people fall into importance. When you decide something is too important, when your happiness depends on it, you create what Zeland calls excess potential, an energetic imbalance. The universe must restore balance, so it gently moves the thing away from you. Think of a butterfly. If you chase it, it flies off. But if you sit quietly, it might land on your shoulder. That's the art of reducing importance, of caring, but not clinging, loving your vision, but not needing it to complete you, because you are already whole. And then there are the pendulums, the invisible structures of thought that feed on our attention. The pendulum of fear, of lack, of competition. The pendulum of, I must do more to be worthy. Every time you worry about money, you're feeding the pendulum of scarcity. Every time you compare yourself to others, You're feeding the pendulum of not enoughness. But there's a beautiful way out. You simply stop feeding them. You don't fight them. You don't resist. You quietly withdraw your energy. You walk away from the argument, from the drama, from the noise, because the moment you stop reacting, the pendulum collapses. That's how the balanced person lives untouched by chaos, choosing peace not as an escape, but as a frequency. Reality, in truth, is a mirror. It doesn't show you what you want. It shows you who you are. If you look into the mirror with longing, you see longing. If you look into it with gratitude, you see abundance. That's why pretending or forcing positivity doesn't work. It's still coming from the vibration of trying to change what is. But when you rest in awareness, when you breathe into the energy of I already am, something magical happens. The mirror shifts. The outer world bends to match the inner stillness. The house, the love, the health, they come not as rewards, but as reflections. And then, one day, you begin to notice something even more mysterious. Your personal awakening ripples outward. Every time you choose peace instead of fear, you strengthen that possibility in the collective field of humanity. Every time you select abundance instead of scarcity, you make it easier for others to access that same lifeline. We are not separate dreamers. We are dreamers within one mind. Your shift becomes the world's shift. Your calm becomes an invitation for others to remember who they are. Eventually, you stop asking, "When will my dream arrive?" Because you understand it was never coming to you. It was waiting for you to match it. And when you do, life begins to unfold in ways that feel effortless, poetic, almost preordained. That's the paradox of true creation. You don't chase the dream, you become it. You don't demand from the universe. You let the universe express itself through you. You become the open window through which the breeze of infinite possibility flows. So tonight, as you lie in bed and feel that quiet ache of wanting pause, don't fight it. Don't try to fix it. Just breathe and whisper to yourself, "I am already standing in the version of reality where everything I seek exists." And somewhere in the unseen, that reality begins to shimmer, to move, to find its way toward you, not because you forced it, but because you finally allowed it. When you stop trying to make it happen, everything starts to happen. When you stop striving to become someone, you return to the original frequency of your soul, the place where all things are already whole, already complete, already here. And in that stillness, you remember you were never manifesting. You were always choosing. One, reality is not created, it is selected. There's a moment in every seeker's life when they stop asking, "How do I make this happen?" and begin wondering, "What if it's already here?" That question changes everything. It's the point where spiritual searching turns into conscious awakening. Every version of your life, every triumph, heartbreak, miracle, and quiet moment of peace already exists in what quantum thinkers call the space of variations. It's like a vast ocean of possible realities, each wave carrying a different version of you. In one, you are thriving and fulfilled. In another, you are struggling and lost. All of them coexist, waiting for your consciousness to choose which one to experience. This might sound abstract, but it's not philosophy. It's the physics of awareness. You don't create from nothing. You select from everything. The mind, of course, loves to build. It wants to design the perfect path to manifest the dream. But that's like sculpting the sea with your hands. The harder you try to give it shape, the faster it slips away. You cannot command the ocean into form, but you can align with its current. When you want, you're telling the universe that something is missing. The vibration of wanting is rooted in absence, and energy, being neutral, can only mirror what you send out. It doesn't hear your words, it feels your frequency. So, when you radiate longing, Life reflects more things to long for. But when you rest in the knowing that it already exists, your frequency shifts. The space around you begins to rearrange. Doors open, not because you push them, but because your vibration matched the reality behind them. This isn't about pretending. It's not fake it till you make it. It's a quiet remembering, a subtle returning to the truth that you already are the version of yourself you're seeking to become. Think of a radio. The song you want is already playing on another frequency. You don't need to write the music. You just need to tune the dial. When you change the frequency, you don't create the song. You access it. That's what happens when you shift from wanting to knowing, from manifesting to selecting. Reality begins to echo your new station. And here's the paradox. The more you try to force the signal, the more static you create. But when you relax, breathe, and simply allow, the song becomes clear. The universe is responsive, not reactive. It mirrors your being, not your doing. That's why forcing, affirming, and visualizing from a place of lack rarely works. It's like shouting, "I am abundant," while secretly trembling with fear that you're not. The mirror doesn't judge your intention. It reflects your vibration. The moment you realize this, life softens. You no longer need to hustle against existence. You no longer feel like a child begging the universe for crumbs. Instead, you begin to feel the pulse of something deeper, something that was never separate from you. Every outcome you've ever dreamed of is already alive in a parallel line of time. The question isn't, how do I get there, but who do I need to be now to align with that version of me, because that version already exists. The you who is loved, the you who is healed, the you who is free. They are all standing in the same field of infinite possibility, just vibrating at slightly different notes. When your consciousness tunes itself to that note, you jump timelines. Externally, it might look like coincidence. Internally, it feels like grace. You've probably felt this before, a day when things flow so effortlessly that it seems the world is conspiring in your favor. You meet the right person at the right moment. A door opens just as you arrive. Even the traffic lights turn green. That's not luck. That's resonance. You have, without realizing it, matched the frequency of a reality where flow is natural. And because all realities already exist, that version simply became visible. You didn't create it. You selected it through your state of being. There's a quiet beauty in this realization. It takes the weight off your shoulders. You no longer have to fix your life. You only need to remember that there are infinite versions of it, and you are free to choose which one to live. In that awareness, something begins to melt. The tension between who you are and who you're trying to become dissolves. You stop chasing alignment and start living it. You understand that every moment is a portal, and your emotional state is the key. When you wake up grateful, you've already stepped into a reality where life gives you more to be grateful for. When you act from love, you've already entered the timeline where love surrounds you. Each thought, each breath, each feeling is a steering wheel. You're not manifesting the road ahead, you're choosing which road appears beneath your feet. And so, the art of selection isn't about doing more. It's about undoing the illusion of separation. It's about dropping the idea that reality is out there waiting to be conquered. Reality is within you, responding to the quiet hum of your frequency. The more you try to manipulate it, the more it slips through your fingers. But when you stand still, calm, aware, open, the field rearranges itself around your presence. It's like standing before a great cosmic mirror. When you smile, it smiles back. When you fear, it darkens. But when you gaze into it with peace, it reflects a world so balanced, so whole. It takes your breath away. So, stop trying to build your future like a house made of effort. Stop hammering your dreams into being. Instead, listen. Really, listen to the quiet current beneath the noise. There's a version of you already walking the path you dream of. They are not waiting for permission. They are not striving to prove their worth. They are simply living in alignment with what already is. Close your eyes. Feel that version of you. Let their calmness wash over your body. Let their certainty settle in your chest. And then whisper to yourself, not as a command, but as a remembrance, I am already there. Because you are. You always have been. Reality is not something you create. It's something you choose moment by moment, breath by breath, vibration by vibration. And once you understand that, life stops being a battlefield and becomes what it was always meant to be, a living, breathing reflection of the consciousness that you are. 2. Letting go of importance to restore energetic balance. There's a kind of tension that hides behind our dreams. You can feel it in the pit of your stomach when you think about something you deeply want: money, love, healing, success. It's that subtle ache that whispers, if I don't get this, I can't be happy. We don't always notice it, but in that moment, we hand our peace away. We attach our worth, our calm, and our sense of being okay to something outside of us. And that small act, so human, so innocent, is the birth of imbalance. When you make something too important, the universe has no choice but to restore equilibrium. It doesn't punish you. It simply balances the field. Too much emotional charge creates what physicists like Vadim Zeland call excess potential. And excess potential always draws a counterforce. It's like pulling too hard on a rubber band; it must snap back. When you obsess over a goal, even a beautiful one, your energy tightens. You start sending out a signal of lack: I don't have it yet, and I need it. The more tightly you hold on to that thought, the more the universe mirrors that vibration of not having. It's not that life denies you, it's that it reflects your state of being with perfect honesty. You see, happiness doesn't live in outcomes. It lives in the quiet steadiness of knowing who you are before anything happens. When you can look at your desire and say, I would love for this to unfold, but I'm already whole with or without it, you set the energy free. It's in that moment of lightness, of letting go, that life can finally move. I learned this the hard way. Years ago, I wanted success so badly that I made it the center of my identity. I thought peace would come after I achieved it, but all that came was exhaustion, disappointment, and a constant undercurrent of anxiety. Then one evening, I stopped. I sat in the quiet and realized something simple yet radical. I was chasing an illusion. I was trying to fill a cup that was never empty to begin with. So I made a new decision. I chose to want things gently. I stopped demanding from the universe and started inviting it. I stopped saying, please make this happen, and started whispering, I trust whatever comes. And slowly, the current shifted. Opportunities began to appear, not because I forced them, but because I was no longer blocking the flow with my neediness. Life is like water. It finds its way through the softest places. When you push and grasp, you build dams made of fear and doubt. But when you loosen your grip, when you breathe and open your hands, the current flows again. This doesn't mean giving up. It means surrendering the emotional weight of your desire. It means wanting from freedom, not from fear. There's a quiet confidence in that, a mature kind of peace that says, I know life is unfolding for me, even if I can't yet see how. And that confidence, gentle, grounded, humble, is the vibration of alignment. Look around you. The trees don't rush to grow. They simply reach for light. The waves don't strain to meet the shore. They return naturally, pulled by a rhythm older than time. That same rhythm lives in you. When you treat your desires with lightness, you're not being careless. You're being in harmony with that rhythm. You're saying, I trust the intelligence of life more than the impatience of my mind. The mind wants control. Consciousness wants connection. Control closes the hand. Connection opens it. The moment you let go of importance, your energy becomes available again for joy, for presence, for creativity. The very thing you were chasing starts moving toward you because you're no longer pushing it away with your tension. People often ask me, how do I stop caring so much about something that matters to me? The answer isn't to stop caring, it's to start caring differently. Care with love, not with fear. Want what you want, but don't worship it. Let it be a preference, not a prison. When you stop trying to control every outcome, something remarkable happens. You begin to see life as a dance, not a test. You stop measuring your worth by what happens and start feeling your worth as something unshakable beneath it all. You realize that the peace you were searching for was never at the end of the goal. It was waiting patiently in the stillness between your thoughts. There's an old truth whispered through every tradition. From mystics to scientists, energy seeks balance. When your emotional field is heavy with importance, balance pulls you back. When your heart is light, balance carries you forward. It's the same principle that governs the stars. Too much pressure, and a star collapses into itself. The right balance, and it shines for billions of years. You were meant to shine, not collapse under your own gravity. So, when you catch yourself tensing around an outcome, when your chest tightens or your breath shortens, pause. Notice the contraction, then gently ask, can I let this be easy? Even whispering those words begins to shift your energy. There's a freedom that comes from realizing you don't have to chase what's already on its way. You don't have to beg the universe to notice you. It already knows your frequency. It's been matching it since the day you were born. The only thing that keeps you from receiving is the belief that you must earn it. That belief creates importance, and importance creates imbalance. So breathe. Ease your grip. You're not losing your dream. You're clearing the path for it to arrive. When you stop needing things to happen in a specific way, life surprises you in better ways. The job you didn't get becomes the doorway to the one that fits perfectly. The relationship that ended makes room for one that mirrors your peace, not your pain. The delay you cursed turns out to be divine timing. That's how the universe restores order through wisdom. We rarely see in the moment. The art is to trust before you understand. In the end, letting go of importance isn't about detachment. It's about remembering your wholeness. You stop leaning on the outside world for validation because you realize the center has always been inside you. You stop treating happiness like a reward and start seeing it as a natural state that was never truly gone, just covered by layers of striving. And when that happens, when you live with gentle desire and deep trust, your energy flows like sunlight through clear water. Things begin to unfold without resistance. The universe no longer has to pull you back into balance because you've already found it within yourself. That's the quiet power of surrender. Not the surrender of defeat, but the surrender of alignment. The surrender that whispers, I am already complete, and everything else is just the universe remembering that with me. 3. The energy pendulum, the subtle trap of collective consciousness. There is an invisible tide that moves through the human mind, an energy current that pulls whole groups of people into the same rhythm of thought and emotion. You feel it in the air sometimes when everyone seems afraid of not having enough money, when every advertisement tells you that you must be more beautiful, more successful, more productive. These are not random waves. They are what Vadim Zeland called pendulums, energetic entities created by collective focus. A pendulum begins as a simple idea. A thought repeated by enough people gathers momentum, and soon it takes on a life of its own. The more energy people give it through attention, worry, or obsession, the stronger it grows. It starts to sway, to pull, to demand, and before long, you find yourself moving in its rhythm without even realizing it. You see, most people don't notice when they are caught in a pendulum. It feels natural. You scroll through social media and feel a twinge of envy or inadequacy that's a pendulum feeding. You watch the news and feel fear tighten in your chest. That's a pendulum feeding. You chase goals, not because your soul longs for them, but because the collective says you should. That's a pendulum feeding. These structures are not evil. They are just self-sustaining fields of energy, but they thrive on imbalance, on emotional intensity, conflict, and craving. They whisper, "You are not enough yet. Try harder. Buy more. Achieve more. Prove yourself." And with every ounce of emotional reaction, they grow stronger. It's easy to mistake their voice for your own. You wake up thinking about bills, reputation, or likes on a screen, and it feels personal. But those thoughts aren't always yours. They are echoes of the collective field. They travel through you like wind through an open window. When you forget this, you start living in reaction to the pendulum's swing. You rise when it says rise and fall when it says fall. You chase approval when it promises reward and despair when it threatens loss. You become a puppet of invisible strings. And here's the irony. Even the world of spiritual manifestation has its own pendulum. It tells you that you must constantly raise your vibration, that you must stay positive, or you'll attract negativity. That if you haven't manifested yet, it's because you're not high frequency enough. Do you see the trap? It's just another form of control, another way of saying, you are not enough right now. And that idea keeps feeding the pendulum. The awakened one doesn't fight the pendulum. Fighting it only gives it more energy. If you stand in front of a strong current and push against it, you'll exhaust yourself. But if you step aside, it flows past and loses its hold on you. When you notice a pendulum pulling at your emotions, the practice is simple: awareness without engagement. See it, name it, breathe. Then, shift your focus to the frequency you choose to live, in peace. Gratitude. Presence. Imagine walking through a crowded city, where hundreds of conversations buzz around you. Some are angry, some seductive, some full of despair. You can listen, or you can keep walking. The noise is still there, but your silence is no longer food for it. This is what it means to step out of the pendulum's field. You don't destroy it, you become invisible to it. I remember a time when I was completely caught in one. It was the pendulum of achievement. I believed that if I stopped striving, I would fall behind, that my worth was tied to my results. Every morning, I woke with anxiety in my chest. My mind never rested. I was always almost there. One day, I burned out completely. There was nothing left to give. And in that stillness, I noticed something strange. The world didn't collapse. The phone kept ringing. Opportunities still came. Life went on. Even when I stopped pushing, that's when I saw the pendulum for what it was. A collective spell of striving that I no longer had to obey. I could walk away, and the moment I did, everything became lighter. Work flowed easier. Creativity returned. Even money began to come naturally, without the heaviness of struggle. When you leave the pendulum's rhythm, life doesn't slow down. It aligns. Pendulums often disguise themselves as noble causes or urgent responsibilities. They tell you, you have to care, you have to fix this, you must take a side, and sometimes, yes, action is needed. But action born from stillness carries power. Action born from reaction only feeds the storm. The true work of consciousness is discernment. Ask yourself, am I acting from inner clarity or outer noise? If your energy feels contracted, if your peace disappears the moment you engage, that's a pendulum at work. Try this experiment the next time you feel triggered by something. A headline, a comment, a social issue. Pause before reacting. Feel the pull, that electric jolt in your body. That's how pendulums hook attention. Instead of feeding it with outrage or defense, take a deep breath and smile softly. The smile breaks the spell. You've just withdrawn your energy. You can sense pendulums everywhere in politics, religion, business, even family systems. Any group that demands emotional loyalty creates a field that sustains itself through attention. And the stronger your identification, the more power it holds over you. But the good news is, awareness severs the cord. Once you see the mechanism, it loses its magic. The awakened person lives lightly among pendulums, aware but unattached. They don't isolate themselves from the world. They simply refuse to feed its chaos. They choose their own rhythm, one that moves with the quiet pulse of the soul, not the collective noise of the crowd. Think of it like tuning an instrument. The world plays in many keys, some harmonious, some discordant. You don't have to silence the orchestra. You just have to stay in tune with your own note. When you are centered, pendulums pass right through you. They cannot grasp what refuses to react. The balanced person is calm, not because they avoid the world, but because they no longer confuse the world's drama for their own story. They participate without identification, love without clinging, act without losing their stillness. This is real freedom, not withdrawal, but sovereignty. In the end, pendulums are teachers. They show you where you're still hooked, where your peace can be stolen. Every pull is an invitation to come back to center. Every emotional storm is a mirror reflecting where you still believe in lack, fear, or control. When you begin to see them this way, even chaos becomes sacred, because every pendulum reveals the place where you forgot your wholeness and offers a chance to remember it again. So, the next time the world demands your outrage, your worry, your competition, pause, smile, gently step back into your own field of awareness. Let the pendulum swing without you. There's immense power in that quiet refusal, because in that stillness, you stop feeding the noise and start feeding the universe's deeper harmony. That's what it means to live awake in a sleeping world. Not to fight against its madness, but to stand so deeply rooted in peace that the pendulums lose their pull, one by one. And then, as you walk through the noise, you realize the world hasn't changed, but you have. And because of that, everything is different. 4. The mirror of energy. Reality reflects the state within. There's a moment in awakening when you begin to see life not as something happening to you, but as something happening through you. You realize that the world outside isn't separate, it's a reflection, a mirror of the state you hold within. And just like a mirror, it never lies. The universe, in its quiet precision, doesn't reflect what you want. It reflects what you are. That is the simplest, yet most humbling truth you'll ever face. You can stand in front of the mirror and beg for it to smile. But unless you smile first, nothing changes. That's how energy works. Life mirrors the frequency you emit, not the words you speak. When you say, "I want love," the mirror reflects the vibration of wanting, not having. You see more absence than presence, more distance than closeness. But when you become love, when you rest in the quiet, knowing that you already are it, the universe cannot help but mirror it back to you. Because the outer world is not an independent force. It's a field of reflection constantly echoing the pattern of your inner consciousness. There's something liberating about this realization. It dissolves blame. You stop waiting for the world to fix itself, for others to understand you, for circumstances to shift. Instead, you turn inward not to withdraw, but to recalibrate. Everything that shows up in your life is feedback. Every situation, every person, every coincidence is a reflection of the energy you hold. The impatient driver, the cold partner, the missed opportunity, they're not punishments. They're signals. They're showing you where your vibration still carries tension, fear, or doubt. And this is where the mirror principle becomes a spiritual compass. Instead of fighting what you see, you begin to read it. When reality feels harsh, it's not because the world is cruel, it's because you've momentarily forgotten your own softness. Outer intention, the flow that allows the universe to act through you, begins when you stop forcing the reflection and start aligning the source. Imagine standing before a still lake. The surface mirrors your every movement. If you thrash around trying to change the reflection, the water only distorts further. But if you become still, if you soften your breath, the image becomes clear again. That's how energy stabilizes. When your inner world is calm, the outer world naturally arranges itself in harmony. You don't have to make it happen. You just have to let it happen. Outer intention isn't about controlling outcomes. It's about surrendering to coherence. It's when the universe moves through you, using your alignment as a vessel. You become the open channel rather than the clenched fist. I remember when I first grasped this truth, not intellectually, but experientially. I was in one of those seasons when everything seemed to fall apart: relationships, finances, health. I kept asking, why is this happening to me, until one night, sitting alone in silence, the answer arrived as a whisper, "'Cause this is how you feel inside." It wasn't a judgment, it was a revelation. I had been carrying resentment, self-pity, and fear, and life had faithfully mirrored those emotions in every detail. That night, I didn't try to manifest better things. I simply began to shift the energy within me one breath at a time. Instead of asking, when will things change? I started asking, what is this moment reflecting about me? It's astonishing how fast the mirror responds once you stop arguing with it. Within weeks, conversations softened. New people appeared. I felt lighter, not because life suddenly got easier, but because I was no longer projecting chaos onto the canvas. The world didn't change, first I did. The mirror principle invites a deep kind of responsibility. But it's not the heavy kind. It's the freedom that comes from knowing you hold the brush. Every thought is a color, every emotion, a texture. You are painting your reality in real time. When you live with anxiety, the strokes are erratic and sharp. When you live with gratitude, the palette warms, the edges blur into grace. When you live with love, even the shadows start to glow. But here's what most people miss. The mirror doesn't instantly shift with one good thought or affirmation. It reflects your dominant vibration, the energy you consistently inhabit. So it's not about thinking positively for 5 minutes. It's about being peacefully aligned for 5 hours, 5 days, 5 months. Consistency of inner state rewires the field of outer experience. And when life gives you a reflection you don't like, don't rush to change it. Pause it. Look closer. If someone betrays you, maybe the mirror is showing where you've betrayed your own intuition. If you feel unseen, maybe it's reflecting where you've ignored your own needs. If you feel unloved, perhaps it's pointing to the parts of yourself you've been withholding love from. This is not blame, it's awareness. The mirror isn't here to punish you, it's here to guide you home. Each difficult reflection is a doorway into wholeness. You don't fix the mirror by breaking it. You clean the surface by clearing the fog within. Once you start seeing reality this way, something miraculous happens. You begin to trust life again. You stop fighting for control and start dancing with reflection. You realize that everything, every challenge, every delay, every heartbreak wasn't a mistake. It was a reflection of the lesson your soul was ready to integrate. Outer intention flows from that acceptance. When you stop pushing, the universe starts orchestrating. The right people appear. The timing unfolds. The synchronicities align like stepping stones across a river you once thought was impassable. But it's not magic. It's resonance. Reality isn't personal. It's precise. It mirrors the frequency you live in, not the story you tell about it. That's why deep transformation doesn't come from forcing the outer to comply, but from softening the inner into coherence. The more you align with peace, the more peaceful your world becomes. The more you embody abundance, the more life responds with generosity. The more you radiate love, the more love returns, sometimes through people, sometimes through silence, sometimes through the simple ease of existence. You begin to understand that life doesn't give you what you demand. It gives you what you're ready to reflect. So when the mirror feels harsh, don't despair. Bow to it. Thank it. Then adjust your energy with tenderness. Ask yourself, if this reflection disappeared, what lesson would I lose? Because every reflection, even the painful ones, carries the seed of awakening. The universe is never against you. It's always teaching you how to see yourself clearly. And when you finally see without distortion, the world smiles back with the same calmness you've cultivated within. That's when you understand the quiet truth behind all spiritual practice. You don't need to fix the reflection. You just need to remember the one who's looking into it. And in that remembrance, everything, absolutely everything begins to shine. 5. The current, the flow of guidance. There is a quiet rhythm moving through all things, a current of life that knows where it's going even when we do not. Every reality, every timeline, every version of our existence flows along its own unique stream. You can feel it sometimes, like a soft tug beneath the surface of your ordinary day. It's that gentle nudge to call someone to turn left instead of right, to take a pause instead of pushing forward. The current never shouts. It doesn't argue with your logic or prove itself to your impatience. It simply moves, steadily, carrying you toward what your soul has already chosen, long before your mind caught up. But most of us spend years swimming upstream. The mind, with all its plans and deadlines, hates the unknown. It wants control, predictability, certainty. It wants to chart the river before stepping in. And in doing so, it forgets that the river already knows the way. When you're caught in that struggle, it feels noble. You tell yourself you're being responsible, proactive, determined. But underneath, there's a subtle resistance, a belief that life won't move unless you make it move. And that belief is the very thing that makes everything harder, because control is heavy. It drags you down. The current, on the other hand, moves through lightness. It asks for trust, not tension. You can see this in nature. The river never worries about reaching the ocean. It just flows. The tree doesn't plan how to grow. It simply leans toward light. Even the breath in your lungs, inhale, exhale, happens without effort when you stop trying to manage it. So it is with life. The moment you stop fighting the current, you feel something extraordinary. Peace doesn't come from getting to the destination. Peace is the current itself. When you begin to align with this flow, the world starts speaking to you in a new language. You notice synchronicities, those small coincidences that feel too meaningful to be random. A book falls open to the exact sentence you needed. A stranger says something that answers a silent question. A delay turns out to save you from trouble. That's how the current communicates. Not with lightning bolts, but with whispers disguised as ordinary life. Intuition, inspiration, and effortless timing are all ways the current guides you. You don't have to understand them. You just have to listen. But listening requires quiet. And quiet is something the modern mind resists more fiercely than anything else. We're taught to fill every silence with planning, every gap with strategy, every pause with noise. Yet the current doesn't live in the noise. It lives beneath it. It's the still hum beneath the chaos, the faint pulse behind your heartbeat. When you slow down enough to notice it, you realize it's been guiding you all along. Even in your darkest moments, it was there. Even when you thought you were lost, it was quietly rearranging the pieces, leading you home through detours you didn't yet understand. I remember a time when I fought the current so hard that I almost drowned in my own willpower. I wanted to make things happen, to control outcomes, to chase what I thought was meant for me. But the more I pushed, the more life pushed back. Doorslammens shoot. Opportunities slipped away. Relationships crumbled under the weight of my expectations. At some point, exhausted and defeated, I stopped struggling. I didn't give up in despair. I simply let go. And when I did, something remarkable unfolded. What I had been chasing began to find me, not in the way I expected, but in a way that felt natural, almost inevitable, like gravity, like grace. That's the paradox of surrender. When you stop forcing life to happen, life starts happening through you. To live in the current is to trust timing more than control. You may not always know where it's taking you, but you can feel when you're aligned. It feels expansive, peaceful, quietly alive. Resistance feels tight, like trying to run uphill carrying a stone. Alignment feels like a soft exhale, a deep yes that doesn't need justification. The current has intelligence. It doesn't operate on your schedule, but it always honors your evolution. If it slows you down, it's because you're being refined. If it speeds you up, it's because you're ready. Every twist in the river serves you. Even the ones that seem to pull you backward are often taking you deeper, not away. Trusting the current doesn't mean you sit back and do nothing. It means you move with awareness, not anxiety. You take inspired action, not disparity reaction. You make space for life to collaborate with you. It's like dancing. You don't control the music, but you can choose how gracefully you move with it. You can resist the rhythm, or you can let the rhythm move your body. Either way, the music plays. And here's the quiet truth. When you let life lead, you discover that its choreography is far more elegant than anything your mind could have planned. There's a story I often think of: a leaf floating down a stream. The leaf doesn't know where it's going. It can't see the ocean or the bends ahead, but it doesn't need to. It trusts the water to carry it. Now imagine another leaf beside it, struggling to control its direction, trying to swim upstream with all its might. Which one do you think reaches the sea first? We laugh at the futility of the second leaf, but most of us live that way, trying to navigate with fear instead of trust, logic instead of listening. And yet, the moment we surrender to the flow, we discover something miraculous. The river was never separate from us. We are the current. That's what wisdom feels like, not the accumulation of knowledge, but the loss of resistance. You start to understand that life isn't a series of obstacles to overcome, but a rhythm to align with. You realize that guidance isn't something you earn through effort. It's something you hear when you're still enough to receive. The current doesn't demand faith. It rewards presence. Every time you pause and tune into the quiet knowing beneath your thoughts, you reconnect with that flow. And once you do, you notice how everything begins to align. Again, people, opportunities, timing, all falling into place with a grace that feels effortless but isn't accidental. Sometimes, trusting the current means being patient through silence. Sometimes it means saying no to what looks good so you can wait for what's right. And sometimes it means letting go of what you love, not as an act of loss, but as an act of love itself, because the current always knows the deeper route home, even when the surface doesn't make sense. There will be days when you forget this, when fear takes over, when the river feels rough and you think you're sinking. But remember this: the current has carried you through every storm before, and it will carry you through this one too. Breathe. Loosen your grip. Let the water hold you. You were never meant to know every turn ahead. You were meant to trust the direction of the flow beneath your feet. That is the highest act of wisdom: not knowing, not controlling, but allowing, because the current is not outside of you. It's the movement of life itself through your consciousness. And when you finally surrender to it, not as a concept, but as a lived truth, you feel something ancient and familiar, the effortless belonging of being carried by something larger, kinder, and infinitely wiser than your own plans. That's when you realize you were never lost. You were just learning how to float. 6. The slides of essence, feeling before form. There's a quiet art to creation that few people talk about: the art of feeling first. It's not about what you picture in your mind, but about what you become in your heart. Because the universe doesn't read your words or images, it reads your vibration. Most people, when they visualize, focus on the form. They imagine the car, the house, the partner, the perfect outcome. They color in every detail, hoping that if they can see it clearly enough, it will somehow appear. But what they don't realize is that form is the shadow, not the source. It's the echo, not the sound. The real creative power lies in essence, the emotional tone of what you want, not the object itself. Think about it. You don't want a luxurious home for the bricks and wood. You want the feeling of belonging, the peace of walking through your own doorway after a long day. You want that quiet sigh that says, "I am safe here." You don't want a partner just for the presence of another body beside you. You crave the feeling of being understood, seen, cherished, met soul to soul. You don't really want money for the numbers on a screen. You want freedom. You want the ease of choice, the space to breathe without fear. So when you visualize, stop chasing the picture. Close your eyes and ask, what is the feeling behind the form? That's the essence, the true signal that the universe understands. In Vadim Celan's language, these are called slides. Not the kind of slides you project outward, but the inner films you play in the theater of your consciousness. But the secret to powerful slides isn't precision, it's authenticity. The more you fill them with feeling rather than control, the more magnetic they become. When you create a slide that captures the essence of what you desire, you're tuning your entire being to the frequency of that reality. And once you're in tune, life can't help but match your vibration. Because the universe doesn't deliver based on your shopping list, it delivers based on your state. You can test this in the simplest way. Think of a time you felt deeply grateful for something unexpected. Notice how quickly more blessings followed. Not because you manifested them, but because gratitude put you in the same frequency as receiving. Or remember the times you were desperate, trying, pushing, pleading for something to happen. Everything felt stuck, didn't it? The harder you tried, the further it slipped away. That's the difference between visualizing from lack and visualizing from essence. One says, "I don't have this yet." The other says, "I already am this energy." Creating slides of essence isn't about tricking the universe. It's about becoming transparent to it. You drop the mental noise, the effort, the fantasy, and simply embody the feeling you're seeking. When you do this sincerely, the slide stops being a technique and becomes a state of being. Here's how it feels in practice. Let's say you want to experience love. Instead of seeing a specific person or scenario, close your eyes and step into the vibration of being deeply loved. Feel it in your body, the warmth, the ease, the quiet joy of knowing you are treasured. Imagine how your shoulders would relax, how your breath would deepen, how your thoughts would soften if that love were already here. Don't reach for it. Be it. Let that feeling wrap around you like sunlight. Stay there, not for results, but because it feels like truth. In that moment, you're not pretending, you're remembering, because somewhere, in another lifeline, that love already exists. And by embodying its frequency, you're sliding gently into that version of yourself who is already living it. That's not imagination. That's resonance. The same applies to abundance. Don't picture money falling from the sky. Feel the relief of knowing you are supported. Feel the quiet confidence of someone who trusts life completely. Notice how that person moves, how they make decisions, how they give generously because they know there's always more than enough. You'll find that when you hold this essence sincerely, new paths begin to unfold, ideas, opportunities, unexpected help. The form adjusts itself naturally to match your state. Because energy leads, form follows. When you create slides from essence, you're working with the universe, not against it. You're no longer dictating outcomes. You're inviting alignment. Think of the universe as a musician. It doesn't respond to commands, it responds to harmony. If your vibration is in tune, It joins in. If it's off key, it waits for you to adjust. The beauty is that you can always retune yourself through breath, stillness, gratitude, or even gentle imagination. You don't have to force the song, you just have to listen for its melody and hum along. When I first started practicing this, I thought it was too simple to be real. I'd spent years trying to visualize every detail of my goals, thinking precision was power, but nothing ever felt alive. It was like painting a picture with no soul. Then one day, I stopped describing and started feeling. Instead of imagining the perfect scenario, I asked, what would peace feel like right now? The moment I did, something in me softened. My chest opened. The restlessness that had followed me for years dissolved, and in that stillness, everything began to change. Not because I was manifesting faster, but because I was finally living slower, closer to the frequency of the life I'd been chasing. It wasn't that things began to appear, they were always there. I had simply tuned into them, feeling before form, essence before image. This is the alchemy of creation. It's what the mystics have always known, and what science is beginning to echo, that vibration shapes matter. Not the other way around. You can't think your way into a new reality. You can only feel your way there. That's what it means to work with slides, not as mental pictures, but as emotional templates for being. Every time you enter a feeling state, you open a doorway to a parallel version of life where that vibration already exists. Your job is not to control how it arrives. Your job is to stay faithful to the frequency. Because form is fluid, it rearranges itself to match the energy you hold. The universe doesn't speak the language of form, it speaks the language of essence. When you send out the vibration of peace, it mirrors peace back to you. When you live in the vibration of I am loved, it brings people and experiences that echo that truth. It's never personal, it's precise. So when you create your slides, don't ask, what do I want? Ask instead, what do I want to feel? Let that feeling become your compass. Let it guide your choices, your energy, your presence. And one day, without realizing when it happened, you'll look around and see that the outer world now matches the inner landscape you've been cultivating all along. That's not magic. That's coherence. The universe doesn't deliver by shape, it delivers by signal. So when your signal is pure, when your heart feels like the thing you long for, life has no choice but to align with you. Because that's how creation really works. Not through force, but through frequency. Not through control, but through communion. And when you finally understand this, you stop asking the universe for more and start feeling grateful for what's already vibrating inside you. That's when you realize the truth every awakened soul eventually finds. You were never waiting for your dream to come true. You were waiting to remember how it feels. 7. Collective co-creation, the awakening of humanity. There is a quiet revolution happening across the world, one that doesn't make headlines or fill the streets with noise. It moves through the silence of the human heart, one person at a time. Every time someone chooses love instead of fear, trust instead of control, compassion instead of judgment, the frequency of the whole planet rises, almost imperceptibly, but undeniably. Reality isn't an isolated mirror reflecting one person's thoughts. It's a collective mirror, a living, breathing field woven from every human's vibration. Every thought you hold, every emotion you release, every act of kindness or cruelty, all of it ripples into the great tapestry of consciousness. When you choose peace, you're not just finding peace for yourself. You're helping the universe remember its own stillness. You're reminding the collective of what it feels like to be whole. We tend to imagine change as something large: movements, revolutions, breakthroughs. But the deepest revolutions are invisible. They happen in the moments someone forgives when they could have condemned, listens when they could have argued, breathes when they could have reacted. That single act of consciousness sends a signal into the field, and, because energy never dies, that signal remains. It becomes easier for the next person to make the same choice. You see, awakening isn't a solitary journey up a mountain. It's a ripple that spreads through the ocean of humanity. One heart opening makes it easier for others to open. One soul healed makes healing more accessible for the collective. Every time you raise your frequency, you become a tuning fork for others. You don't need to preach or persuade. Your presence alone begins to realign the space around you. It's easy to underestimate how much power you hold. The ego says, "Who am I to change the world?" But the truth is, you already are. Every vibration you emit contributes to the symphony we're all playing. You can test this in your everyday life. Walk into a room filled with tension and stay calm. Notice how the atmosphere starts to shift. The volume lowers. The pace slows. People breathe easier without knowing why. That's the power of resonance. You don't fight darkness by attacking it. You dissolve it by shining steadily enough that others remember the light in themselves. This is not poetic idealism. It's physics. Frequencies sync. The higher vibration always has the organizing power. We are not separate islands of awareness. We are waves in the same ocean of consciousness. When one wave rises, the tide itself lifts. So when you heal, you are not just healing your wounds. You are healing the wound, the ancient fracture between fear and love that runs through all humanity. When you forgive, you are undoing centuries of accumulated bitterness, even if only in a small way. When you hold compassion for someone who can't yet see their own light, you're helping them remember without a single word. That's what collective co-creation truly means. The outer world doesn't change because someone shouts louder. It changes because enough people become quiet enough to listen. You may not see immediate proof of your contribution, and that's okay. Transformation rarely announces itself with trumpets. It's more like dawn, gradual, gentle, inevitable. One day, humanity will look back and realize that its awakening wasn't a single event, but millions of small, unseen acts of consciousness happening in kitchens, hospitals, prisons, classrooms, and quiet living rooms. It will see that enlightenment didn't descend from the sky. It arose from the ground, from ordinary people choosing extraordinary awareness in ordinary moments. That is how light spreads quietly, persistently, through the hearts of those who no longer seek power but embody peace. I remember once sitting by a river, watching the current carry fallen leaves downstream. Each leaf was small, insignificant on its own, but together, they changed the color of the water. That's what collective awakening is like. Tiny choices of love and awareness, merging into a flow strong enough to shift the course of humanity. No one leaf can move the river, but the river is made of leaves. So when you choose love today, when you pause before reacting, when you speak gently, when you let someone be as they are, you are shaping the current. You are participating in evolution itself. Sometimes it feels hopeless, doesn't it? The world looks fractured, divided, loud with fear. It's easy to forget that fear always shouts the loudest right before it fades. That's what collective transformation looks like. The shadow's last attempt to be seen before dissolving in the light of awareness. Don't mistake noise for power. The true shift is happening in silence, in the hearts that refuse to add more anger to the world's fire. Every time you choose presence over panic, you become part of that silent army of light, not the kind that fights, but the kind that listens, forgives, and builds bridges where others build walls. You might wonder, but how does my little moment of peace really matter? Imagine the collective human field as a giant instrument. Every human heart is a string. When even one string vibrates in harmony, it sends a subtle resonance through the entire instrument. The more strings tune themselves to peace, the more the whole instrument begins to hum with that same frequency. That's what's happening now. The collective tuning is underway. You may not hear it yet, but you can feel it the way more people are craving truth. Simplicity, authenticity, love. This isn't coincidence. It's coherence. Collective co-creation means the universe isn't evolving despite you, it's evolving through you. You are one cell in a living organism called humanity. When you become conscious, that cell lights up, and the body heals a little more. Your awakening feeds the collective field, and the collective field supports your awakening. It's a loop, a partnership. This is why personal growth is never selfish. It's service. When you clear the fog in your own mind, you make it easier for others to see clearly too. When you love yourself deeply, you expand the collective capacity for love. When you forgive your past, you lighten the ancestral weight humanity has been carrying. Your peace is not just yours, it's medicine for the world. Sometimes I think of Earth as a single heart with billions of pulses. Some fast, some slow, some erratic, some steady. Every time one of us slows down enough to feel gratitude, forgiveness, or awe, the planetary heartbeat stabilizes just a little. We are, quite literally, teaching the Earth how to breathe again. And maybe that's what this era of awakening really is, not the end of the world, but the healing of it. Not destruction, but remembering. So don't underestimate the quiet choices. Don't discount your peace because it seems small compared to the chaos on the news. The news shows explosions. Consciousness moves in whispers. And whispers, when multiplied by millions, become the sound of a new world being born. Every act of awareness is a vote for the world we want to live in. Every choice of love is a seed planted in the collective soil. Every moment of forgiveness is a storm calming somewhere else. In the end, awakening isn't about escaping the world, it's about illuminating it. When you choose a higher frequency, you're not rising above humanity. You're helping it rise with you. Because we are one field, one mind, one shared dream, remembering itself. And when enough of us choose peace, that peace will stop being a practice and start being the planet's natural state again. That's the quiet miracle of co-creation. The universe doesn't evolve through grand gestures. It evolves through gentle hearts remembering who they are. And as each heart wakes up, the light spreads not in a blaze of noise, but in a soft and steady dawn that touches everything. You are that dawn. And together, we are the sunrise humanity has been waiting for. When we stop trying to make it happen. There comes a time in every seeker's life when the pursuit itself begins to feel heavy, when the constant striving to make things happen turns into quiet exhaustion. It's the kind of tiredness that doesn't live in the body, but in the soul. You've done everything right. Read the books, practice the methods, whisper the affirmations, and yet, the horizon keeps moving away, just beyond reach. That's when the truth finally reveals itself. The miracle doesn't arrive when you push harder. It begins the moment you stop, when you stop trying to create, and instead begin to allow. You see, the universe doesn't respond to effort. It responds to presence. It doesn't move because you demand. It moves because you align. Creation was never meant to be forced from the mind. It unfolds naturally through awareness. When you are present truly here, the energy that shapes worlds flows through you like water finding its course. There's no resistance left, no noise of doubt, no tension of control, only a quiet openness that says, I am ready to receive what already belongs to me. That's the essence of surrender, not defeat, not giving up, but returning to trust. Because what if you were never separate from the abundance you seek? What if everything you've ever longed for was not something to acquire, but something to remember every time you stop reaching and simply be? You slip gently into the frequency where your desires already exist. It's not a leap, it's a remembering. You begin to notice that life was never withholding anything from you. It was only waiting for you to relax enough to see what was always here. like a radio static clearing when you finally tune to the right frequency. All along, you were not a creator forcing the universe to obey. You were the awareness through which the universe expressed itself. The painter and the canvas were never separate. And when this realization dawns, something extraordinary happens. Peace returns. But not as a visitor. It takes its rightful place as the foundation of your being. The irony is almost tender. When you stop trying to fix reality, it begins to repair itself. When you stop trying to reach for love, it finds you. When you stop trying to manifest abundance, you realize it was already surrounding you in 1,000 subtle ways. The truth is, you were never incomplete. You only lived for too long, under the illusion of lack. You were never unworthy. You were simply distracted by stories that told you so. When you let those stories fall away, you don't become someone new. You return to who you've always been. Presence is not an achievement. It's a homecoming, and that home has been patiently waiting through every season of striving. Whispering, "You can rest now." In the stillness that follows, you start to feel the world breathe with you. You notice that things begin to align not through effort, but through ease. The people you meet, the opportunities that appear, the timing of it all. It's as though life is exhaling in sync with your surrender. That's not coincidence. That's coherence. When your energy stops pushing, it begins to flow. There's a subtle beauty in realizing that nothing is missing. You can stop bargaining with the universe. Stop trying to trade your worth for your wishes. You can finally stop the endless inner noise that says, "Once I have this, then I'll be happy." Because happiness isn't the end of the road, it's the road itself. It's the quiet pulse of being that's been here since the beginning, undisturbed by what you gain or lose. And when you rest there, you see that manifestation isn't about calling something new into being. It's about awakening to what's already alive within you. The universe has never hidden its fullness from you. It has only waited for your stillness. For the moment you'd stop searching long enough to see the simplicity of what is. It's not that your dreams were far away. You were simply running too fast to meet them. When you slow down, they catch up. When you breathe, they arrive. When you stop trying to make them happen, they reveal they were always happening through you. There's a story I once heard about a man who searched the world for a diamond, convinced it was buried somewhere, far from home. After years of wandering, he returned to find it shining, in his own garden, right where he'd begun. That's what the spiritual path feels like in the end. You travel through the noise of striving, the wilderness of desire, the mountains of self-improvement, only to return to the simple truth. It was always here. The abundance, the love, the peace. They were never missing, only waiting to be noticed. When you stop trying to make it happen, you stop resisting the intelligence that already is happening. You start to live in rhythm with something much larger than your plans. And life becomes less about achievement and more about attunement. The mind says, "I must build." The heart whispers, "I must become still." And when you listen to that stillness long enough, you realize it's not stillness at all. It's movement of the deepest kind, the kind that doesn't force, but flows. This is what it means to be found instead of seeking. When you stop chasing, you realize you were never the seeker you were, what was being sought. The peace you prayed for was the presence praying through you. The love you were searching for was the awareness searching within itself. You are both the question and the answer, the wave and the ocean, the silence and the song. And once you understand this, striving loses its meaning. You no longer wake each morning wondering how to make life work. You rise, knowing life is already working through you, as you, with you. So let yourself soften. Let the noise fade. Let the striving dissolve into stillness. Not because you've given up, but because you finally understood there was never anything to win. You were never meant to conquer reality. You were meant to remember it, to feel its pulse moving gently beneath every breath. every step, every moment, and in that remembering, you discover the simplest truth of all. You are not here to make the universe bend to your will. You are here to remember that your will and the universe's have never been separate. When you stop trying to create, you begin to allow creation to express itself through you. When you stop grasping for peace, you realize you are peace. When you stop seeking love, you see that love has been quietly walking beside you all along. So rest, breathe, and let life happen. Because in the end, enlightenment isn't an achievement, it's a return to the truth that you never had to strive for what was already yours. You are not the seeker anymore. You are what has been found. And the universe, patient, kind, infinite, was never hiding from you. It was simply waiting for you to stop long enough to see it shining back through your own eyes.